Mmm, this turkey sandwich is actually really good. But, what's up, guys? Natsu from Senpai's Home, and this is just a little scattered thoughts kind of blog video, I guess you can say. It's not anything of my normal kind of Eden Zero fairy tale kind of things, because I've been noticing a disturbing trend as, I post more Eden Zero fairy tale content. My related channels end up getting kind of mixed up with, channels that don't really put any effort, and that's kind of disturbing. So what I'm thinking of doing is making a couple of these videos just because I want to talk about these things, and at the same time I want to try to fluctuate my related channels so they're not, trying to give exposure to people that, in my opinion, don't really care about what they do, unlike a lot of other people who could be getting exposure because they really care about what they do, and they really care about you guys, most importantly. But personal ideals aside, let's talk about Lost Pause. And again, I'm going to tell you right now, if you guys are not interested or have no idea who this guy is and don't really care, it's completely fine. This is mostly for people that do know, want to talk about him a little bit, try to get these things, situations out of the way, because there were certain situations that happened a long time ago, and maybe people have addressed them. I've seen a couple videos out there. I didn't click on them because this whole anime drama stuff, it's so dumb. There shouldn't be drama in the anime community, even though people want to make it like that. But let's just have a conversation. Let me know if there's anything that I'm missing, because the funny thing is, this is always brought up to me as well, because I remember a long time ago, I'm talking maybe 3 or 2 years ago, I made a tweet, because I wasn't very active, but I still made a tweet to the Anime Man. And the Anime Man had said something about how he was going to hang out with his crew or something. And at the time, there was this kind of rumor and this kind of shady behavior by him. And it was kind of very, very, very out there. You could tell they were trying to hide it, but it wasn't you couldn't really hide it, because it was just very awkward and cringy. But overall, the main gist of it was, Joey, for some reason, had a best friend named Noble, and then about a week ago, he wasn't his best friend anymore. He kind of just threw him into the dirt, into the garbage, oh, here's a new toy, let me use him up, okay, I don't need him anymore, get the fuck out of here. That's kind of how it was, portrayed, and, everybody saw it. It wasn't just me, it was, a majority of people, and they were wondering, and they were like, what the fuck happened? And I don't think we still know the full story, because Joey never made a video actually discussing what happened, Noble never made a video actually discussing what happened, Aki never made a video actually discussing what happened, Misty was just kind of there, he never opened his mouth. But mainly the tweet that I said was, can Noble join you, or is he still banned from your life? That's basically the tweet I sent. And holy crap, I was getting a bunch of likes on that, and I was like, wait, why? I was just going off of what people would, said and speculated, and just making it into a tweet. I didn't think it was actually had any legitimacy behind it, but apparently it did, and even now to this day, I'm still getting, hearts, likes on my tweet from, 2 or 3 years ago, and that's fucking wild, because I'm like, whoa, this stuff still hasn't died down, holy crap. And it's kind of unfortunate, because from what they portrayed, Lost Pause and the Anime Man had become really good friends somehow, some way, I don't know. And the point is, the thing with the Anime Man, and there are a lot of things that he's done, there's the constant contradictions, there's the shady behavior, there's the throwing shade at people that can't defend themselves, there's the calling people out on Twitter, and then either deleting the tweet, or trying to bury it under the rug. There's a lot of shady things this man does, but people neglect it, and they just move on with it, and I totally understand that, because if I was a 12 or 11 or 13 year old and I saw Joey and I was like, oh, this guy is so cool because he's so popular, and anybody that revolves around anime has to sub to him because he's like the PewDiePie of anime. Even though, just a little heads up, Giga had surpassed him in subs until he made that collaboration with PewDiePie. Just saying, that was actually a thing. People actually told me, what, you're fucking lying, and then I'm like, no, Giga legit had more subs than the Anime Man for a long time until he made that collaboration with PewDiePie. So that just goes to show you, but unfortunately Giga doesn't have really that, he doesn't have all, he has charisma, right? He has, great scripting, and his videos are pretty funny, but he just doesn't have the kind of like charisma that Joey does. And I think that's why Joey's kind of fucked up a lot of the times, because if you look at his videos, the quality is seriously fucking dropped. Like before, he used to, even though he used to be really shady before, he would always make these kinds of okay videos where he's like talking about things that are happening in Japan. Because if you want to know what's happening in Japan, you go to Joey, because he's half Japanese, half Australian, right? Those have its benefits. But ever since he got involved with Aki Dearest, oh man, the quality, holy god, shit, it just went down the tubes. It went down the drain. It started diminishing greatly, and then it just became kind of like vlogs and like rants and him just being angry at things and him just lashing out at his fans, which again, I don't blame people for still staying behind him, because again, you know, you're 11, you're 12, you're 13, you're young or whatever, you're like, even people to this day that I know that are like 16, they're still like idolizing this man, and I get it. I guess I get it. I can understand why. I'm not gonna get mad at you for that. That's, you know, your thing. Maybe one day you'll grow older and you'll see that, hey, these guys aren't really haters. They just kind of see something that's obvious and like to point it out. But as I learned, you can't really change people's perspectives, and you know what? That's fine. I'm not gonna kill myself trying to, you know, prove everything that's wrong. Like, I've seen these people make hour-long or 30-minute-long videos exposing this man, showing legitimate proof, only for somebody to just randomly say, oh, you're a hater, fuck this video, I'm disliking. And at that point, I'm like, this is gonna be me. I'm gonna put in all this time and effort, just like these people. I'm gonna put in all this time and effort, and at the end of the day, it's not gonna make a damn difference. You know, it doesn't freaking matter. Unless, for example, you're Giga. Like, I know I'm using Giga as an example, but to me, he's like the second, he's like, he's the only person that could legitimately take on the Anime Man if he ever wanted to. But unless you're like Gigguk or something, you're not gonna get anywhere. Like, unless Gigguk makes an exposed videos like all these other channels, there's no way nobody's touching Joey. Like, nobody's touching Joey. And that leads me back to Lost Pause, because at the time, Lost Pause couldn't touch Joey, and even now he really can't touch Joey. Because the thing is, that's so fascinating and so messed up too, is that Joey was able to alone systematically destroy Lost Pause. He didn't end his career by any means, but he was able to take him out of the social circle that he was in. See, Lost Pause got into the social circle, but if you go to one of Danny Anime's videos, you'll see that he was actually hanging out with Misty Cronexia, he was hanging out with Aki Dearest, and this was about 2 or 3 years ago, I believe, and he was hanging out with Joey, most importantly, and all 4 of them were Anime Expo. And it was really kind of weird, because we transitioned from that, and them looking like they're really good friends, and I'm sure there are even some videos there that still showcase them being friends. I remember I saw a video that Roro Noah Zam had made back when Leafy was really hot shit, and Roro Noah Zam was making a video trying to like roast them or whatever, and there was this kind of instance where they were slapping each other's asses in like the hotel room, and it was like, oh good, and you thought everything was cool, and you thought Noble was a part of this circle, and there's no way they'd ever turn their back on him, and then Joey gives the word and everybody turns their back on Noble. It's really sad and depressing when one man can legitimately say to 3 people, hey, this guy is not one of us anymore, fuck this guy, I don't like him. And then Aki would be like, oh yes babe, no problem. And then she kicks him out. And then Misty's like, well, bye Noble. Now, to Misty's credit, he was the one that stood by Noble the longest, in that he kept him in the featured channels and tried to talk to him the longest. But inevitably, he gave up, and he just said, oh, well, to fuck with this, and just kind of got rid of him, too. And that's really, really, really depressing. I really feel bad for Lost Pause because of this. And although I thought that his content wasn't the best, because he relied on reactions and anime vines to stay relevant for the longest time, I feel like at this point, reflecting back on it, like, and especially his current videos and what's been going on with YouTube as a whole, like, his whole thing, Lost Pause's whole thing has always revolved around showing lewd images of anime girls. But the funny thing is, now that YouTube is taking the initiative on that, he's being essentially demonetized, and this is coming from a guy that doesn't even have a Patreon because he doesn't believe in that shit. So there is some ounce of redeemability in Lost Pause yet. Because you have these big creators too that are about as big as Joey. You have like freaking, and I'm gonna name names, but I don't have anything against these people personally. But you have people like, of course, Joey the Anime Man. You have Chibi Reviews. You have Digibro, who's now going by Otaku Gonzo Journalism. You got these guys putting out their Patreons, and you see Noble, and he's not putting out a Patreon, even though a majority of his videos are getting demonetized because of bullshit, and he's constantly getting strikes because of bullshit too. And it's irritating. It's just irritating when, you know, your video gets striked and it's not just, and then the process of waiting, and it's just really annoying. It's really frustrating, and knowing that you don't have a go-to, you're essentially, you crippled your content. Your content is crippled. You gotta be on the lookout, so there's some constant paranoia of whether or not you're gonna get striked. And then you don't even have a Patreon to fall back on because you don't believe in doing that shit because you want to stay true to your ideal sway. And it's just so, I mean, you can't help but feel bad for this guy at this point, you know? Maybe this needed to happen because if it didn't, he would have turned out as bad as Joey, maybe even worse, because the people that hang out with Joey aren't necessarily the nicest people, and they're kind of messed up, honestly. Like, if you stay a fan and you don't dig into this stuff personally, if you just stay a casual, you know, don't, in fact, I'm gonna put this out there so your perception of these people don't get messed up, because I know a lot of people love these people. Do not ever look into them. Like, don't ever research them. Go about your day. You know, if you're bored one day and you feel like doing something like researching, don't fucking do it. At least research something else. Do not make the same mistakes I did. Do not look into these people's shady past. Do not make the effort of trying to quote-unquote expose them, because it is not worth it. You will not get anything out of it. You might get a couple likes, but ultimately, it doesn't freaking matter. You're going to be wasting your time for nothing. And most of all, what sucks even more is your perception of them will be tarnished. You will not look at them the same way again, and then you will be out of the clique that think they're cool. And you don't want that. Just don't do that for yourselves. Not everybody can handle that, and it's not healthy. Just go along thinking they're cool and whatever, and you should be fine. But if you do dig into this, it is pretty messed up what he's done or what he did to Noble. And, you know, the saddest part is I think this had to do over Aki or something. I think that's what it had to do with, because there was this kind of rumor going around and Noble was like trying to hit on Aki, but at the time Aki was trying to hit on Joey, and, you know, they became a couple, and so, you know, I don't know, girl issues or whatever, bromance. I guess Joey doesn't, you know, Joey is Joey, he'll keep doing his own thing, but at the end of the day, I feel bad for Lost Paws, and I'm now changing my perception on him. I think he's a kind of a good guy. I don't think he's that bad. I really want to support the guy. But that's basically all I want to discuss on the Lost Paws matter. There's not really anything else to go with. And this has been like a senpai vlog, I guess. Something like that. But am I missing any information, guys? Is there anything that I'm missing? Is there anything I'm uninformed about? Until next time, guys, this has been Natsuchu from Senpai's Home, making my first ever quote-unquote vlog, I guess, or it's a series called Let's Talk About, so basically. But yeah, this has been my first Let's Talk About. Let me know how you feel in the comment section down below. Again, if I'm misinformed, let me know what you think about what I said. Am I in the wrong for thinking this way? Do you feel the same way? You know, it's all a conversation at the end of the day, you know. Until next time, guys, stay classy.